Hello everyone, Nick here. Thank you very much for tuning in to my book review today. We have been reviewing the Deadtime storybooks, and we have made it to book 10, Grandpa's Monster Movies. This cover is excellent. We have the monster's claw slashing through the movie screen. Love the details on those. We have, looks like some kids playing baseball there on the screen. Just happy as they can be, enjoying the moment. And then there's just the claw, showing that there's definitely trouble in paradise. And I love how it looks. So great. We have the introductory colors as red here. Goes very nice with that yellow font. We have a good contrast of the blue and the red here. And of course, just that red monster claw. So great. One of my favorite covers from the series. Definitely in my top 5. I have a memory of a long time ago when my mother and the rest of my family was going through searching for the Goosebump books for me. And of course, we ran into some of these other or knockoff type books. And I remember we were on Amazon back when it was only a bookstore then. And I remember seeing this cover, and I was just so enthralled by it, and absolutely have loved it ever since. And of course, I had to have it, though I didn't get this one until much later, of course. But that cover is another one that's always stuck with me. Going into the actual book, it's another decent one for me. So it starts off, we're in a farm with our main character, and he's in this cornfield, and he's running from something or trying to hide from something. And all of a sudden, he gets snuck up from behind, and to find out it is the sidekick character of the book. So the main character, his name is CT, which is shortened for Catan Thomas. And his cousin Lee Rose is the one that comes up behind him and surprises him. They're from the, same grandfather, which is the grandfather in the title here of this book. So they're on his farm for his 70th birthday, and his son is CT's dad, and his daughter is Lee Rose's mom. What they're hiding from, we come to find out, it's a game of hide and seek from their cousins, from their grandfather's brother, and they're kind of strange, depicted as hillbilly-ish, backwards Southern people, which I think the book leans on really heavy to that stereotype in this particular title. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it uses it too much as the comedy aspect, and sort of the weird cousins to kind of help, the creepy factor of the book and the sort of the first half. Not my favorite, but I do enjoy the names of the twins. So they're the Bob twins, and their names are April and May. So April was born the last day in the month of April. And then at midnight, when it turned to May 1st, then May, her sister, was born. And I think that's kind of funny. And they don't really know which one is May, which one is April. And they just whisper to each other. They don't talk to anybody to kind of help, the creepy factor. Makes you think of, the twins from The Shining. I think that was probably the biggest inspiration for them. So I think that works pretty well. But then we have the rest of the Bobs: Billy Bob, Joe Bob, Jimmy Bob, and Bobby Bob, which I think those names are ridiculous, personally. We don't really see much of them. They're just sort of filler characters, unfortunately. But their grandfather is CT's and Lee Rose's uncle, Earl. And according to the book, he is a raving maniac, and that's very true from his character in this book. They have another uncle as well, that is the other brother to their grandfather, and his name is Uncle Ernie. He has been stricken by lightning 16 times. He is balding because of it, has holes in his head, and we actually get more interaction from him as a character in the book as opposed to Uncle Earl and the rest of the children under his umbrella, so to speak. So after the Bobs and Bob twins catch them, a moment before where they see this strange, they think it's a tumbleweed, but it's like this ball of fur rolls by, and they're like, what is that? And Uncle Ernie actually catches them and talking about this, or they bring it up to him, and he's like, there's nothing like that here. It's probably just a tumbleweed. You're seeing things. So off the bat, Uncle Ernie knows something that we don't. So then we are presented with some of the other family. Of course, we do meet Uncle Earl. We meet his wife, Luleen. She likes to cook essentially roadkill. She has this dish with ferret, and she really loves pickled pig's feet. And it's funny because Uncle Ernie has a pet pig named Pork Chop. Pork Chop understands humans, and he cowers at the sight of Luleen, and Luleen wants to pretty much eat him because she's like, you know, that's the purpose of pigs, to be eaten. So that's kind of a funny dynamic there. And of course, Pork Chop is just terrified out of his mind this entire book. So at some point, we come to where, after we meet Grandpa and Grandma, who cooks real food, they go up to the attic to hide from the Bobs and the Bob twins. And this is when they come across the monster movies in a box called Grandpa's Monster Movies. And he has movie reels of Dracula, Frankenstein. And then there's this other movie, and it's called Gus-Gus. And we're like, who is Gus-Gus? And sure enough, they watch the movie, and they see, the little ball of fur. And so we come to realize that that is the monster of the book, is the little ball of fur, and its name is Gus-Gus. There's also this character named Floyd Garvey, and one of the films depicts him at his birthday party where they introduce Gus-Gus. So the thing with Gus-Gus is he's harmless, really, unless he starts eating like meat. He becomes, carnivorous. That's when he sort of transforms into the big scary monster that we see sort of at the end of the book. Gus-Gus is bat-like face. He has, bat-like ears. His skin is leathery whenever his hind legs and his claws come out. And he has little black beady eyes, but he's cute in his ball form. Kind of reminds me of that one Yu-Gi-Oh monster, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. But when he grows bigger, of course, his eyes are like the size of beach balls. He has 2-inch fangs, and he's just this horrible creature. So we find out that Uncle Ernie and Grandpa and Uncle Earl, they know about Gus-Gus because they discovered him when they were kids. So Uncle Ernie had played this claw machine game, and he had gotten out this red egg. And in the red egg was Gus-Gus. And they've been trapped with him ever since, and he cannot be killed or destroyed or anything like that. And of course, Uncle Earl blames him for what happened to Floyd Garvey. And according to Uncle Ernie, Floyd Garvey ran away and joined the circus, but his eye twitches every time he lies, which is what it did when he was telling them that story. And we actually don't know, like, if he actually did get eaten by Gus-Gus at his birthday party. And there was also like a cow too that got eaten by Gus-Gus, but the film, of course, cut off. So we don't know if he actually ate Floyd Garvey or not, which is one of the more unsettling aspects of the book. And so they discover him in the old barn. There's a new barn being built, but there's an old barn. And in there is an electrified fence that keeps Gus-Gus in there. They stumble upon this, of course, and Uncle Ernie and Pork Chop catches them, which is where we meet Gus-Gus and come to understand that, hey, he's not bad as long as he's not fed the wrong food. He's actually pretty cute and pretty sweet, cooing at them and stuff in the book. And in the electrified fence, there's like another fence, and then there's like a moat, and that leads to his cage there. Taking extra precautions to keep him locked up, though he does get out sometimes, and of course it comes down to Uncle Ernie primarily to sort of make sure he doesn't get into mischief or turn into his monstrous form. Though he does get out, because after they leave the barn, the Bobs and the Bob twins come and they fool around because they were spying on them, and Gus-Gus is out, and he eats the entire chicken coop, and he even burps up one of the Bob twins' bows. So we're like, oh no, did he actually ate one, and it's so sad too because like in the hen house where he's eating all these hens and started to become his big monstrous self. There's like one hen up in the rafters of the hen house, terrified for her life, and it's talk about a bad day. So he actually escapes briefly, but Grandpa and Uncle Earl, they're in the truck and they get him sort of back into town, and he's like whipping up like dust, like a tornado coming back when the kids and Uncle Ernie are trying to find him because he's gotten loose. And then we see, him for, he's the biggest he's ever been, big scary monster. The town they're in is called Tumbleweed, though they're able to get him back into town and back on the farm, which is where the entirety of this book takes place. Everyone's scared and terrified, but CT has this great idea. There is dynamite that Uncle Earl brought for the celebration, like fireworks, and he gets some marshmallows. He like sticks the marshmallows on, some of the TNT. Gus-Gus eats it, and he explodes in the sky. And they think, well, we finally beat him, kind of thing. And they were trying to hold him off with, Lulene's pickled pig's feet. Eventually, CT got him with the marshmallows. So at the end of the book, they're going home, and I think it's CT notices something, and he notices that something in the road there, and it's actually starting to chase after them, but there are multiples of them. And then we come to find out at the end, the twist is that when they exploded Gus-Gus, they exploded him into millions of copies of himself. And so now the book ends on all of these, little Gus guys coming and chasing them. And then I think CT ends the book with a remark saying, well, looks like we need more of those pig's feet. And that's pretty much the book. And it's not a bad story, I don't think. I like the setting of the farm and the family, the concept of these movies, this monster that is locked away and is one day found. So not a bad little book. I do think they leaned more towards like the backward hillbilly stereotype too much. I get that this was the 90s though, and that was pretty common. But yeah, I kind of deduct some points from that because they lean too much into that, I feel. So I give it a 6.5. Again, decent book from the Deadtime story series. But yeah, thank you for tuning in today to this one. Feel free to let me know what you think of this one if you've read it. And I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.